So I'm painting and I feel like talking. So of course I put it on video. Of course I do. But really, these two things don't actually really happen that often these days anymore. I've had a lot of people like thank me for sharing my story. Um, I don't know that I actually have completely. I mean, bits and pieces of it here and there. And I've actually watched a lot of videos of people lately who have had Cushing's disease, and it's been super helpful to sort of hear other people's um, adventures with this thing. A lot of them are told though from the perspective of being over it, being in remission, having beaten this thing, and that's really great. I was just like, where's the story of the person who's in the middle of it, who's battling with the hardest part of it? So far, it could get harder. It could still get harder. Um, haven't actually had surgery yet, and apparently the recovery is another battlefield all on its own. We're gonna deal with that when we get there. All I know is what I have up until now. Um, I had someone super close in my circle make a comment the other day that said, I can't help but notice that ever since you put all your faith in Sky Daddy, things haven't been going so good for you. So I woke up to God about a year ago. Uh, Let me tell you, bro, things were really not going good then. So I have a brain tumor sitting on my pituitary gland. That's your master gland. That's the one that controls everything. You get something growing on that, a whole bunch of stuff's gonna go really wrong. Um, I would have started showing the physical signs of this at the end of 2015. We just didn't know what it was. It seems to be the same story with everybody that I've seen that has this. They start showing some symptoms, they go to the doctor, the doctors go, maybe send you to a few other doctors who all go. I had one endocrinologist maybe in 2016 tell me, oh, just eat well and exercise. At the time, I was an elite athlete, like an elite racer. Just eat well and exercise, you'll be fine. Okay. But anyway, leading up to last year, so 2015, 2016, stuff started going physically wrong. Yo, ladies, you stop getting your period. There's something super wrong with you. Go chase that. Chase an answer for that. Don't let them tell you that it's nothing. It's something. That's like the one thing that kept me going back. It's like this is red flag. My body was designed a certain way. Something like that stops happening. You need an answer. Go get an answer. Um, the main thing this thing does is it floods you with cortisol. So that's the stress hormone, and you need it. You need that to live. The thing is, if you have too much of it, it can actually kill you. Um, it does the wildest things to your body, but that's like it's bad, but it not the end of the world. You know. The part that I'm super struggling with now is the mental part of it. I just spoke to one of my doctors this morning, and it's like this is so common. I've never not wanted to do anything. Never ever in my life. No matter what I did, it was like full out passion, and like I'm at this point of battling this chemical imbalance. It's just incredible. Uh, like rooted in the Nike theory, just do it. That bike, I used to just like couldn't wait to ride it. Anytime. racing was a huge part of my life. Training was a huge part of my life. Just like, oh, my heart was in that for sure. And now I haven't been able to race and train intensely for over a year. And I mean, I ride that bike because I know I should. And when I get out there, I'm super happy that I did. But these days, now this has been going on for so long, I'm honest, they're so hard. There's some days like I don't even get out of bed. Um, I've never experienced this before, and like my heart goes out to anyone who's suffering from like severe depression, and the anxiety is ridiculous. Just incredible. Probably get back to that, but so yeah, 2016. I was still flying high and doing all the things, and my sleep was getting disturbed. And one thing this thing does, it like eats your muscles and eats your bones, and it stores fat in the weirdest places. And I started noticing things going wrong with my body. And as an elite athlete, I would get my body like ranked in, measured and ranked in, and it was coming back like 21% body fat. I'm like, for how hard I was working and training and how strict I was eating, it just didn't make any sense. And all these red flags that I just like ignored. And mentally, this thing just eats you from the inside out super slowly. I don't even know what it's like to not have it. Man, the guy I was dating at the time, that poor dude, I don't even know how he dealt with it, the mood swings. And I remember there was one day I just like sat down on the floor and just threw this incredible tantrum. I don't even know why. And like he just didn't know what to do with me. Like he did his best and he did really good, but I just got like really out of control. I didn't understand what it was. That was the worst part. So then it was like last January, I like walked into a church. No one was holding my hand. I don't even think anyone invited me. For the longest time, I had no idea how I ended up there. And then I remembered. I took notice of it going to a race, probably in the fall. Like driving down the highway and took notice of it. And it took a couple months. And then I like walked in. And the preacher at the time was preaching about the prodigal son. So I knew about things, Jesus and God. I knew about it from my past and didn't really care at that point. I was just like living my life that was going downhill. And the prodigal son, that's that story about the two sons, and one demands his inheritance early, and he goes and takes all this money and just ruins his life. Realizes what he's done, and then wants to go home. Just wants to go home. Was gonna beg his father to be a servant, and so he gets home, and his father's like throws a party, like welcome home, son, welcome home. And I'm kind of like sitting there, like this is pretty cool stuff. I'm kind of giggling, like prodigal son. And I looked around the church. Like, yo, this is really dead. This is dead. All these people are dead. Why would I want to be a part of this? This stuff is really cool. It's not even my jam, but I kind of just wanted to like kick the dude off the stage and take over, even though it wasn't even my thing. And so whatever, I like left there that day. Didn't really like think much of it or anything. A couple months go by. I've named my brain tumor Brian. Brian the brain tumor. He's such a jerk. We're gonna play hacky sack with him when we get him out of my head. Yeah, we are. So Brian starts flexing his muscles, and keep in mind, I don't even know what's going on. I just know things are going really wrong. I had completely stopped sleeping. You stop sleeping, your quality of life just, oh, things get really crazy really fast. So, um, doctors are still like, "Oh, what's wrong with you?" And it's like around this time I start like waking up to God. All of a sudden, I find myself, I don't have this like one eureka moment, you know. I just all of a sudden I'm reading a Bible. Like, what's going on? And it's like not just reading a book, not just reading a book. It's like talking to me and stuff. Around some of you know what I'm talking about. That living word of God. So right around this time, they start just hammering me with like drugs and sleeping drugs that don't work, and a couple different I think depressants and stuff like that. And they're playing with the dosages and they're playing with the kind of drugs, and it's like, yo, this is all not a really good scene. In combination with this thing, and I think at the time, oh yeah, I was also pre-diabetic. I almost developed diabetes, and so I went into this diet, this ketosis diet, to switch my energy systems and rebalance my blood sugars, and it actually worked. But then, what I found out about that after is that apparently keto drives your cortisol levels up. So even though I was like rebalancing my blood sugars, I was raising my stress levels, and my cortisol levels are like currently like 4 times the amount of a normal human. Um, I'm pretty much jammed in like fight or flight, you know, though, and those scenarios where mothers can pick up cars because they've got superhuman strength because their kid is underneath the car. That whole like that I'm in that all the time, and so it's cool for a while, and then you break down, and then it's really not good. It's really not good. So here I am in this keto thing, getting all these drugs thrown at me, and like, um, it was like before the summer, and I'm like coming alive to God all at the same time. Yo, things went sideways, just absolutely sideways. When he says he's never gonna leave you or forsake you, not lying, definitely not lying. And what happens when you are given antipsychotics when you're not psychotic? I wish I'd worn a head cam for my summer. uh, for a while there, I was like, the ways I would encounter God that, you know, nobody would talk about openly. I mean, now I know tons of people who talk about this stuff openly. I mean, this is our lives, you know, but at the time I didn't really know anybody. I felt kind of alone in it all and was constantly kind of questioning, like, am I just going crazy? No, no. I mean, I did, but God was like there in it with me. He meets you where you're at, man. And it's like the ways he would speak to me so loudly. I mean, I actually heard the audible voice of God, one word out loud, you know. We can probably video about that another day, but the thing is, like, he will get through to you whatever it takes. I don't hear his audible voice now, you know. My insides are a bit quieter, but at the time I was so sideways. He wouldn't have been able to get through to me any other way. Um, so I'm just, this whole thing is like, the worst of it was in the summer. So all these symptoms of Cushing's just exploded. What else happened? Physically, I mean, yeah, the physical is not the end of the world. But it's still, if you're showing these signs, I had this hump on my back. I don't even think I remember it. My roommate told me she noticed it. It's like camel hump. My stomach distended so much that I used to have an innie belly button, and now it's an outie. So I looked like 7 months pregnant, probably. My ankles were swelling. I was getting tremors. What else happened? oh, my skin, don't even go. Oh, it's just like whatever. Um, and I remember even before that saying to my roommate, like noticing my face was getting a little bit fatter. I'm like, this must just be getting older. No, 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 no. So yeah, you start showing all those signs. Go to a doctor and don't take no for an answer. I mean, it's a lot better than it was. Um, yeah, still a little rough. Yeah, in the summer I fuller landed in a couple psych wards. You know, like, and the stuff that happened because of the drugs that put me on, the like hallucinations and the like experiences and like if I can save anyone from any of that, I would. Except what we go through is what makes us us, right? And it's like this has been such a wild ride, and I'm telling it from a point of view right now. This is not a fun week. You know, there's some days as like tight as I am with Jesus, there are some days that I'm like, where did he go? I don't feel him. I'm not encountering him. And those days are gonna happen. You know, it's gonna feel a certain way. Maybe I'm reminding myself more than anybody else that on those days you gotta hang on to what you know and not what you feel. We don't live by feelings. We live by faith. And he's rooted me in so much truth in the past year, just downloading. One of the things this tumor does just jams your cognitive abilities. You know, like you can't remember anything to save your life. You'll be walking down the street and you get lost 3 blocks from your house, and you know where you are, but you don't know where you are. Like this messes with you, man. And despite all of that, it's like I've had so much truth just like implanted in me, you know. And it's like there's some days that I'm just standing firm, just locking my wings and standing firm, and that's all you can do. And don't rely on how you feel, especially when you've got a tumor pressing on your brain. So so what am I trying to say? Oh, how am I? People are like, how are you? And it's like everything was moving along at lightning speed. I met with all these surgeons, I met with all these doctors, and now I'm just in this holding pattern waiting for brain surgery. The actual surgery itself and its recovery is like probably gonna be a whole nother chapter. I don't live the kind of life that thinks that far ahead. That'll crush you, you know. He's carried me this far. He's gonna see me through this, and the like truths that I'm hanging on to are like he works all things for the good, for those who love him and are called according to his purpose. I have no idea how, but like imagine that. I'm not God. Um, but yeah, this thing is like the nightmare of my life so far. I mean, I've had some nightmares, but um, yeah, in the midst of it, some days struggling just to get out of bed. You know. So how am I? All right. Really just want to help anyone else who's like going through this to avoid some of the doctor delays and stuff. Um, and just thank God. I thank God for being through in all of it. You know, I kind of like struggle with this thing of like, man, I serve a God of, you know, he has all the power to do all the things. I don't know why this is going on for so long. And that's like the human part of me. You know, why? Don't ask why. And just trust that I'm gonna come out of it. I'm like buffered around like people who love me and are supporting me. It's pretty incredible. Um, yeah, Cushing disease, super not fun, super not fun. But it's developing something in me. I'm just gonna hang on to that. I'm just gonna, yeah. Nike theory, this painting. You should probably see what I did to it. Talking and painting. Yeah, just sort of taking the good days as they come and standing firm on during the bad days, or just crying in the corner. Some days are like that too. Thanks for listening. 20 minutes.